What's up, everyone? This is your guy Frost, and I'm back for some more HD. Um, we'll be doing Wiltshire season 144, day 11. There was no day 10. Where's video? Well, um, can't give it all away, right? I jokes aside, I staggered my attacks yesterday because I was waiting for the alliance battle. I just hit by level 20 and um, had some baby mercs that needed to be leveled up, and so I finished my attacks at work and wasn't able to record there. So yeah. Anyway, I will take you through my buy level 20 setup today. I'll explain sort of my rationale, where I'm coming from, and I'll take a look at some other players. I haven't really spent a lot of time this season looking at other people and what exactly they're doing, but more so just monitoring where they are in the standings, how many attacks they have, things of that nature. But now that we've made the switch over to buy level 20, most of us, I think it's really a good time to kind of take a step back and look at the ecosystem. Again, shout out Chicken Eater 3 for that analogy. I just want to see what the ecosystem is of the people I perceive as threats and contenders. So we'll start with my setup and then we'll kind of work through it. I have put together a quick sheet that sort of summarizes this ecosystem and the various players, the buy levels they're either at or that I think they're going to stop at. And, if I have to revise this as players hit 27, I totally will. Axes, rogues, bows, D mounts, offensive mounts, and then there's a couple of interesting mercs a certain player has here. So uh, kind of take a look at it together. So first person on the list, myself, Frost. I'm going to look at my spy from yesterday. So you can see my setup here. I've got an executioner, I've got another executioner, a bow, and a knight. Um, the reason why I did this was an adjustment to last season. So when I played last season, I felt like my rogue was dying too often. It wasn't dying a lot, but it was dying enough that it just really wasn't effective to me. I felt like my axeman was much more sturdy, much more stable, although, the lower agility does strike fear in my heart as we get towards the end of the season. We all know what happens as defense scales much higher than damage does. And that's also part of the reason why I went with two executioners here. I'm hoping that once my defense spikes and gets to that point, that I'm going to have two menaces instead of one. Now, one will be higher level than the other if I pit it. Um, there's not much else to pit, so there's not going to be mounted. So I probably won't be pitting my knight, but I think I could still invest enough gold into both mercs that uh, to really just make them more viable. So anyway, that's what I've done. I've already kind of done the legwork, and I look at this sort of ecosystem this way. We're going to have people who go by level 27. I still think it's going to happen. I know that, the results were underwhelming last season, but there's always a few that go. Some people, surprise. And then I think amongst buy level 20 players, it's going to be really interesting to see um, how um, the melee situation unfolds, right? So we'll go through some of these other players and look at their setups, and I'll show you what I mean. So Jib is another person I've got on my list. He's not at buy level 20 yet, so it'll be interesting to see. He's got one, two, three, four mercs. Um, I don't expect him to do anything like he did last season. Azrael is also still by level 14, but or maybe, yeah, I don't know. He looks like he sold a couple of mercs, but um, so there's not much there to look at. Shiny, he's another player on my list, but he just sold as well. So these guys are higher in the standings because they had 10 or 11 attacks and behind in buy level. So tomorrow I'll have to come back and revisit them. But let me just take a look at Donut to start. So Donut's an interesting one. He's got by level 14 Mercs still. Looks like he's going to be sticking at by level 14, and he's been just absolutely gaining massive amounts of ground on the top. So he looks like he's allocated his attacks. He's got Celtic Woodsman, a Duke, Legionnaire, and a Legionnaire. So he's also got the double axe setup just at a lower buy level here. So um, I've put it in this table to sort of give you guys a visual depiction of what's going on in my brain. When I look at an HD ecosystem, all of this stuff I can sort of like process in my head. But I wanted to think of a way to put it out there creatively for others to see. And so by understanding what people have, it helps me build a strategy to beat these people, or it helps me also understand how they plan on allocating. And that's extremely important when we're all the same buy level, all at the same day. How do you generate an advantage to where you're able to farm somebody when you have the same mercenaries more or less 1 day apart? Well, it's based on how you allocate, especially towards the end when it really matters the most. So that's his here. So he's got this. And no, we don't want to do that. And the next person you already probably saw on the list, I want to look at Lancelot. He's been playing very well, leading the pack with the 9 attack crew. So he's got a berserker, an executioner, a knight, and a bowman. So I think, like I said, we're going to see two different parties. I think for buy level 20 players, there'll either be the rogue axe or axe. And I think the findings are going to be interesting. Again, my experience with the rogues was not very good, but that could be because I didn't pit it. Perhaps it needs to be pitted and have like super high agility, but still have defense, and maybe that's something that can cause trouble. I'll just kind of work off this sheet here. So Chicken Eater 3, he's got an interesting setup. So he's got an axe, a rogue, 3 bows, and a demount. That's my favorite setup. I don't like my setup. Just to be clear, I don't like it. But I made the decision to stick with 4 mercenaries because of what happened last season. So I have a point in salary the entire time, and I have 6 mercs. So I'm always 1 point behind Orchard and Chicken Eater. And so I was not able to ever make a move on them because I was always missing that key attack. So the only way I think I can like make sure I hit that is if I A, don't go salary, which is too late, I already did, and I also find that extremely useful, or B, don't go 6 mercs. I need that 1 point. So I think in a 4 merc setup, the double axe is the way to go. If I had 6 mercs, maybe I would consider the rogue again and maybe pitting the rogue. I'm not sure if that's what Chicken Eater's got in mind. I also like when I look at the 3 bow setup and why I didn't go with it this time, other than what I just explained, a lot of those kills my secondary and tertiary bow got were mop kills. And when I say mop kills, I mean like um, once the melee walls are down, getting the archers, getting the mounted. So it'll be interesting to see his setup. Achilles is not at, well, maybe he hit by level 20 today. I can't see his mercs, but the Mystic Butterfly, congrats on your evolution. And you look so positive. Look at that. Beautiful butterfly. Don't give up, Beck. This is beautiful. Um, so he's got baby by level 20. He's got a comp. He's got a knight, a zerker, and an executioner. Four shard seems to say have the same thing. It'll be interesting to see if they like add any mercs if they do decide to go 6, because like I have that option today should I want to. I won't be doing that. But Cheech is another person that's on my list. He's got an executioner, 2 bows, and a knight. So that's a little different in a sense. He's kind of playing the similar strategy to what Crush of Demons, Too Dark Forever did last season. And speaking of them, Too Dark Forever has the Axe Rogue Bow Mount combo. It looks like he decided to go with 2 melee this season, um, which I guess, from my perspective, maybe that's an adjustment he's made because of the experience he had last season playing with 1 melee. But the person who really made adjustments and the person I want to kind of look at here is the most interesting setup at buy level 20 is Crush of Demons. This is someone who's always been fundamentally sound, very solid player. And so he's trying something completely different. He is rolling with an enforcer, another enforcer, an outlaw, and a knight. So I don't think this is his final setup, just because if you just have these 3 melee, it's probably a bit squishy. Um, to rely just on that, I would imagine that he would add a bowman or two today. And this will be very, very scary to attack though, because the accuracy is high enough to land critical hits. And he was smart for picking up the outlaw to potentially deal with berserkers. So, because berserkers could easily counter higher accuracy whips. So, looks like he's thought this out pretty well. He's got the knight there doing its thing, guarding the back door. So we'll see how it evolves. And Zeratol was another player as well, so he's got the double axe. He's got the same sort of deal I have going on, though his knight's level 5 and his melee's level 4. So I'm not sure if he's pitting his knight or if he just is temporarily pitting his knight so that he can win battles and attack higher. That's another strategy that I might be doing today myself. Um, who else was on my list? Bagel, the everything bagel strategy was very dynamic last season at buy level 27, but we've got don't attack me. A berserker, a comp, an executioner, and a knight. So again, similar setup here. And uh, who else was on my list? For Shard, we looked at, I believe he has the same setup as last season. Cheech, we looked at. Bagel, yeah, so that's sort of like the people I look at. And again, there are a lot of other players out there that are threats. And Gibby is actually doing something that is more traditional. I've always viewed them as like an anti-meta player, someone who runs like fast mounts or like melee type stuff, but he's got the double executioner, a knight, and a bow as well. So he's doing the same thing that I'm doing, and I think he's placed slightly ahead of me right now too. So that'll be very interesting to see how that develops. Um, so yeah, again, I think this is going to come down to two things. It's going to come down to um, how many people go by level 27 versus 20, and what does that mean for the ecosystem for farming? And secondly, the battle between the double axe and the axe rogue setups. So um, that said, I'm going to kind of see what Jib, Azrael, and Shiny and Achilles do once they've purchased their mercs and give my overall thoughts and perhaps some predictions once I've seen that. But that's sort of my interpretation on the initial buy level 20. I don't want to say rush, but I guess setups that we're seeing in the game. So I'll be back with another video with my attacks. But till then, peace.